Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Quest for the Best Director podcast. My name is Matthew Moore, and joining me is a guy who, I'm not gonna say that, he's a Nazi, but, he's no Herbert. Caleb Ferguson. Caleb, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Matthew. How are you?
I'm all right. It was because I'm studying before. I saw Goodfellas yesterday. That was cool. School started for the high school though, so I had to, drive across the school zone to get to your place
Oh.
because I am joining Caleb live in studio, and by studio I mean his bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You got, it's beautiful in here, it's very organized and clean,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But also joining us is a guy who is notorious in his own way, Derek Shorzinski. Derek, what's going on?
Just chilling, going to class soon.
Oh, it's your first day of school, Derek. Are you excited?
Very. I get to do 15 credit hours this semester.
Can we get a picture of you like holding your backpack and smiling in the front yard? Like on your first day of school.
I can do it in the balcony hall, like top of it.
That's all we need. Well, this is the Quest for the Best Director podcast, aka the greatest movie director ever bracket podcast, aka Nazi depreciation podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'll do is each week we're gonna put two directors against each other, comparing each of the movies. For the first round, it's gonna be each director's fifth best movie according to theyshootpicturesdon'tthey.com. And this week it is Luchino Visconti's The Damned versus Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious. Now, Derek, I'm gonna direct my first. Well, I'm gonna monologue for a bit, but get ready for a question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, as you guys know, I think I mentioned this before on the podcast. I don't really like to look at reviews for any of the movies that we watch because I feel like it kind of clouds my judgment going into the podcast, right? I kind of like to go in there fresh, like tabula rasa for a 10th grade illusion. And but as I was trying to find find out where to watch The Damned, I saw a review that really stuck out to me that I didn't look at the time, but I looked at after the movie because I was quite curious. By Roger Ebert, some people consider to be, I think, almost universally the greatest film critic of all time. At least,
most well known.
Yeah, greatest in terms of legacy, if not in terms of quality. Yeah. Right. Now, Derek, Roger Ebert describes The Damned as a magnificent failure, an example of a great director working at his peak and somehow creating almost nothing at all. It's one of the most impenetrable films ever made. Characters and plots keep slipping away from us as in a frustrating dream. We're never quite sure where we are. Derek, is it fair for me to say that Roger Ebert's being a bit too harsh with this criticism of The Damned? And you're giving it 1 star, by the way.
Yeah, it's definitely way too harsh. I feel like his expectations were like super high or something, and he didn't get what he wanted.
I think Roger was probably a Nazi. I think that's what we can take from this.
Well, it's actually the opposite. So I think what happened. Let's not disrespect the dead Roger Ebert, but reading the review, it seemed like he actually didn't know what's it called, the night of the long night was. If you don't know, it probably makes the movie a bit more confusing because it's like, what is those?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can understand why he felt confused at where he was and who some of these people were, and I guess what their motives were. But I think it's a bit too harsh. Derek, what did you think of The Damned?
I felt like it was pretty good. That's about my impression of it. It was kind of weird. It was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of icky. Largely because some of the characters were icky, but also because they're just like Nazis being icky.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like there's not outside of Herbert, who like leaves us for the last 3/4 of the movie. There's not really a character we can get behind. Like our main character is Martin, and he's all right at first. No, at first. Until he like rapes a child and then also has sex with his mother.
Technically, he has sex with, he rapes two children and has sex with his mother. So there's that.
Yeah,
Even worse.
and leads the child to suicide.
Shall we sum up the movie a little bit?
Yeah. So, The Damned is a Nazi movie. A lot of Nazis this week. We got the double Nazi feature.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
It's about this guy. Gosh, so full disclosure, we haven't seen this movie in like a week because we were supposed to podcast earlier. But it's about this guy, Frederick, after the Night of the Long Knives, and he's basically trying to get bolstered into power by this group, including his wife Sophie or his mistress Sophie.
I don't think they're married.
I
But
think
they're
they're-
like a couple, or maybe they're married.
No, I think she's married to someone else, right?
No. Her husband died. Her husband was the war hero.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
died in World War I.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So I think like by his partner Sophie, and as well as a few others to run this steel factory.
Mm-hmm.
And but basically, the Nazis, who include the deplorable. Oh my gosh, what's the guy's name? The really Nazi. Aschenbach.
That dude
Yeah.
was a dude was just creepy.
Yeah, that guy was a good Nazi. They basically get frustrated as Frederick kind of tries to become more independent, and they end up promoting Martin, who is Sophie's cross-dressing son / also lover, to power.
Yeah, so sort of like the way I kind of thought about it is through all these like different phases of the movie, it's just the Nazis kind of like growing their influence and basically manipulating situations so that they always end up on top.
Yeah.
And so to kind of like branching off of that, with regards to the title, who do you think the Damned is referring to? Because I have an idea, but I'm interested to see what you guys thought as well.
I assumed it was the German citizens, right, who are like confined, like they literally have to everything the Nazis want. You know what I mean? They have no choice. Even the richest people who presumably have the most power, are like powerless under fascism.
Yeah, it's sort of how I took it too. But I kind of an only interesting point for me is whether they're damned because like these Nazis are going to slowly take over their country, or they're damned because of their own actions, or maybe the two blend together.
Yeah,
they're their own like
they've created the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Dirk, what are your thoughts? Who are the Damned?
I thought it was the family, to be honest. They're all so fucked up.
Yes, that could be, I guess, another damned to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're terrible people.
Yeah, I think that we kind of run into this a lot with these movies, is how we don't necessarily have a character to stand behind. Like they have.
But this is a very extreme example.
Oh, for sure. But I think in this case, like we have like the one character who's not morally deplorable, like leaves in like one of the very first scenes.
Yeah.
But doesn't come back till the end.
And even when he comes back, he literally comes back, and it's not like some big tragic moment where he dies. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna turn myself in.
Yeah.
Pretty awful. And do we ever find out if it works? I presume it didn't work, but.
Well, because he's trying to like save his daughter.
Yeah,
right?
his daughter. I think his wife's already gone.
Yeah, I don't really know. And honestly, like, I don't know.
Doesn't seem like a very Nazi move. So like,
yeah, sure, yeah.
Dirk, you have any thoughts?
None original. I think y'all said what I thought.
Okay, well, we've kind of talked a lot about not a lot. We talked about the bad parts of the movie, which is, from a narrative perspective, there's not a lot of people to get behind, or really anybody to get behind. But there are a lot of good parts of the movie, I think.
Oh, for sure. And I think even though this is maybe a rare example of where like in a movie where there's not a person that I could really get behind, I still felt involved because all of the characters were pretty interesting. Like, in fact, I think every character here like felt really distinct. As like a character-driven drama, it did a really good job of like making all these connections between people seem really meaningful, and like not only is each character interesting and unique, but the interactions between them and every other character are interesting and unique. And I think that was something that I definitely noted upon watching this movie. Is it took me a long time to figure out what the connections between all these people were, because they don't really ever explain like. This is the patriarch, and these are all his kids, and so on.
Yeah,
and so
we're
forth.
sort of debating whether Sophie and Frederick are married.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. It sort of just like dumps you in the middle and lets you figure it out, which can be a pro or a con.
Now, looking back at the whole "what is the damn thing," I think there is some credence to the they created the Nazi issue, right? They're damned because of own creation. There's a quote in there. I just looking through my notes. Nazism is our creation, born from our factories, made with our money.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting, right? Because it's kind of suggesting that almost this extreme capitalism, right? 'Cause they're saying born from our factories, right? Made with our money. In few words like that, you do think capitalism, right? This extreme capitalism will lead to fascism. Do you think there's any credence to that kind of interpretation of the film as like this almost anti-capitalism piece?
Not to me. To me, it definitely didn't have any sort of like broader socioeconomic implications because it's more of a personal film.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
not saying like necessarily like societal greed, but the personal greed of these people.
Mhm.
So if you look at like each step that these Nazis like use to get in power, it basically takes advantage of each person's personal greed and then what they're willing to sell out in order to sell out to the Nazis in order to get a little bit of personal power. And then they turn around to the other guy and say, okay, well, you got to get ahead of this guy, so sell out just a little bit more to get ahead of him. And they just do that back and forth until they've basically taken up the whole
But
thing.
what is that?
It's about personal greed.
Yeah, but
I mean, I think you could like, sure, you could extrapolate a socioeconomic thing if you wanted, but I think for this movie, it's a personal story about people more so than like a, a broad condemnation of anything cultural necessarily.
I think it can be both though. I mean, there's a quote from oh my gosh, I can't remember. Very famous film article. Every film is political, right? So I think it's like so they not like look at this, but it's somewhat politically. And I think it definitely like when I hear figuring out exactly how much you should sell out so you can be above the next person, that screams capitalism.
Do we know like the Visconti's like political leanings? Because that might elucidate.
Derek knows. Derek, tell us.
I do not know, but from this film, I definitely don't think he's fascist.
I think that is a pretty satisfying.
Well, by the 70s, I hope nobody's really fascist at that point. I don't think anyone's jumping onto that bandwagon.
Oh, he was definitely an aristocrat though. He was born into Viscount like noble family or whatever.
Oh, interesting. So maybe he just like hates his family.
Yeah,
maybe
that
one of
could
those
be.
situations. But Derek, what's your favorite part of the movie?
Definitely the scene where the SA are having like that weird like orgy. That's kind of like I don't know. I guess it was like homosexual because like all of them, like half of them were like fawning on the other one, and they're all dudes. So I guess it was kind of like some Greek orgy or something.
What's happening there? Why do they all die? Just because Nazis don't like gay people?
No,
that's the Night of the Long Knives.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, for the context of any viewers who might not know, is basically these like SA were sort of this separate faction in Nazism that wasn't controlled by Hitler, and Hitler and Ernst Röhm or whatever were kind of like butting heads to someone and were kind of vying for ultimate power of the Nazi party. And so Hitler basically has all the SA and Röhm, that's Röhm, ROHM, assassinated in this one big political purge. So in the movie, we get to see this where the SA are basically all having this party, and it's like, I don't know if we're supposed to assume that they're actually having like homosexual sex, but it's definitely a little fruity party to some extent. And
I think you can assume they're.
See, I don't know though. I think it might just be stylized in that way, and that was something that I wanted to bring up because, like, when I read like the wiki page of this thing afterwards, it said that they described it as a homosexual orgy, but in my opinion, it wasn't so much that. It was more just like bros goofing off and having a good time with some sort of like latent homosexual undertones or something along those lines. And to me, this is super interesting because Nazism obviously tries to portray itself as some sort of like pinnacle of like traditional masculinity, and this was maybe sort of like showcasing how that's not necessarily the case, and
oh, for sure,
and like this fetishization of masculinity in the male form may be indicative of some sort of latent homosexuality or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of gender themes, I would say, within this movie.
Yeah.
Well, first thing, I mean, I think the two most controlling characters in this movie, two characters of most power that we see are Aschenbach and then Sophie.
Yeah.
Right. You can argue kind of who wins out, or if they both win out. I guess.
Does
Aschenbach.
Sophie win out in the end?
I mean, she gets her way, right?
Well, doesn't Sophie die?
I don't think so.
No,
That's
she
pretty
she
common.
dies. Martin poisons her.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, we haven't seen this movie in a while.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, Martin is like bangs his mom. Then Friedrich and Sophie get married, and then or he allows like Friedrich to marry his mother, and then he like hands them poison, and they go into another room, and we see them just like
That's
sitting there,
right, and
just
they
like
both
frozen
on the
still.
couch. That's how it ends. Yeah, I really should remember that one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now you say it, like the visual image is like.
Yeah, that was
in my mind.
that was like my second favorite moment. Is like just seeing that. That was like very striking.
And I do think that's kind of the feminine versus the masculine on man. It's almost like he's claiming that the masculine almost always wins out. Maybe not due to anything inherent, but just some societal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like Sophie is constantly trying to basically emasculate her son,
Mm-hmm.
but it never really I mean, and it works for a very long time, but it's almost like inevitable that the Nazis, what they preached was, like you said, Caleb, right? And that's always out once if preached enough, because I think a lot of people associate masculinity with control,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what. So it's hard to argue, you know, and that's what you. Oh gosh, I wish I had more quotes from Aschenbach. This character actually probably my favorite. I'm a favorite character, but I think one of the better performances in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
because I think a lot of times when he's talking to Sophie's son Martin, like he is dangling masculinity in front of him. He is dangling power in front of him. And kind of interchanging the two.
I thought Aschenbach was a really cool character too because he had a good bit of nuance, and you sort of realize partway through the movie that like he's very like philosophical and theoretical with his love of Nazism. So I actually feel like of any character in this movie, like not to say moral necessarily, but he definitely has the most moral compass, even if it's pointed in the wrong way.
Yeah,
he's the only person who's not
most consistent morals.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it. But he definitely has a philosophical basis for his understandings, and he goes forward with what he believes. Unlike all these other people who we definitely see like betraying what they know is right and sort of like descending into moral failures and evil and that sort of thing. So I really liked him as a character.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing I think is interesting about Aschenbach is the fact that he's really the only big Nazi with speaking parts, right?
Yeah.
And
well, barring Constantine, who's an SA member, I think.
Yeah, sure. I guess what we call them then, like Nazi under what's it? The Hitler Nazis called?
I think it was SS.
SS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. The only like we'll just say Hitler branch of Nazism.
Mm-hmm.
To really get a speaking part, which is really weird for a movie that's probably almost the pinnacle of a Nazi movie, right? I can't think off the top of my head of a more Nazi-ish movie other than maybe like oh geez, what's the Nazi propaganda?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh boy, that's gonna kill me. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Okay.
But outside of
is it something about Triumph or something?
Triumph of the Will. Triumph of the Will.
Yep.
Besides Triumph of the Will, which we did not look up. We almost did, but we didn't. I can't think of like a more Nazi-ish movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a documentary. Which I guess Triumph of the Will arguably is, but.
What I thought was really cool is how when you think about a Nazi movie or like Nazism in general, you typically think of like the war parts and the later periods of the war. And this might be like the only movie that I've seen which focuses like not at all on anything about World War II, but still focuses on Nazi. Like it's Nazism without the World War II part. It's all about the rise and how they sort of like infect the country and turn it against itself and take control of its industry. And that was a side of it that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, it's not about concentration camps and it's not about the war.
Yeah, it's not about the Holocaust too,
Yeah.
which is super interesting. And in fact, the only time they talk about like people being Jewish is that poor girl that he rapes and then who kills herself.
Yeah.
And how she was actually Jewish, and I think like Aschenbach sort of like obviously has a condemnation of that, but they don't really talk about that much.
And they talk about the concentration camps a bit with Herbert, right?
Oh yeah, because I sent her to Dachau.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, I had a question. So we see Martin and his mom Sophie having sex like towards the end of the movie, but would y'all say that it's likely that that had happened before? And that is what, because I don't necessarily know if this is true, but you often hear that like people who molest children were often molested themselves. So can we also assume that Sophie was like abusive towards Martin when he was young? At least that's how I read it. I don't know if you guys maybe read it that way too.
I'm trying to think because Martin has a lot of resentment towards Frederick. A lot throughout the movie, right? So I'm trying to think of how that would feed into it. You know what I mean? Like, would that make it more likely that he's like this like strong,
Yeah, like weird, overly protective.
Which would that make? I don't know, Derek. What do you think?
Honestly, I thought it was a one-off thing. It seemed not very fun on Sophie's part. So
yeah, I kind of assumed it was like rape.
Interesting.
Especially because she is always trying to emasculate him.
Wait, she raped him or vice versa?
He rapes her.
Oh, I completely disagree. Because I think if you actually look at the sex scene, it's quite ironic that he kind of starts off being very forceful towards her, but then it kind of like cuts to like, later on when they're like having sex, and like she's completely in position over him. So to me, the way I kind of saw it is like, he starts off like being very dominant, but as always, she ends up manipulating things to be in control. So even in that moment where like he's, I guess, sort of raping her or something, she manages to twist it so that she's on top and in control.
But you don't think that? Because that's told me that I think it's almost like a better argument for why he was trying to rape her, and then it's like it's almost more.
Well, yeah, for sure, but it doesn't end up that way.
Yeah,
By
yeah,
the end
sure,
of it,
yeah.
that's all that's happening.
Let's see. How do you think about the movie was shot? Because I think that was actually one of my favorite parts. Was just this giant focus on the face once again, which brings me back to another movie we watched. I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of face in this movie. Which I always like seeing people's faces and like their reactions and stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts about how the movie was shot?
Yeah, as a film that's about people primarily, it certainly makes sense to use it as a focus. And a great example of that is towards the beginning when Martin's doing his like cross-dressing like dance scene for the whole family, and then it sort of like pans across the audience while it's going on, and we see this like vast variety of reactions on behalf of the audience, and this sort of like contempt and disgust on the patriarch's face, and then interest, and I don't know, is very very interesting. Kind of shows the panorama of reactions.
And also, I think when it comes to power, the face shows so much, right?
Yeah.
Where we kind of see Martin. He is very feminine at first, right? With like heavy makeup and stuff, and just the expressions in general, they're either a smile or a frown. I mean, you don't really have the straight face. Then as the film goes on, especially towards the end, while the wedding's happening, and he's wearing like his Nazi uniform and stuff, straight face. He's a strong man.
So do we guess that like Nazism sort of like endows him with this masculinity?
Yeah.
And maybe then we read it as people that Nazism is an ideology for people with, who may see themselves as having a failed masculinity, and this like sort of like replaces it or enhances what they're missing.
Which almost, going back to Hitler himself, right? Like in his backstory as like someone who was abused by his father.
Really, I didn't know that.
I think he was abused by his father. Maybe I'm making that. He definitely had a bad relationship with his father.
Okay.
Right? Where his father Hitler wanted to be like an artist or something. I'm pretty sure he was abused.
Okay.
Maybe I'm making up a whole Hitler backstory. But
we could do an alternate fan fiction.
I think it's the one fan fiction that's not gonna fly, unfortunately. Do like an I, Tanya, but it's like I, Hitler. The real story about Adolf. I, Adolf. But yeah, so I don't think I think Hitler was also kind of using Nazism and this whole thing to kind of, propagate or to give him a sense of masculinity. Derek, do you feel masculine right now? Do you need to turn to Nazism?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Well, back to my original question, Derek. Outside of the whole face thing, was there anything interesting to you about like how the film was shot? I know you're a big shots guy.
It's kind of weird because sometimes it like the scene where he gets in like the bed with the girl or whatever. It afterwards he doesn't show like the face at all. Like where Martin gets in the bed and then like after it cuts away, like you don't see either of their faces for quite a while. So I was just wondering why, because it's very distinct. Because like every shot before, faces are shown.
You're talking about with like the little girl in the
Yeah,
apartment?
yeah.
Maybe it's like a element of like shame or something like that, or they're trying to like hide the sin or crime. I don't know.
Faceless. It's a faceless crime. No. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm not quite sure. That's a terrible. Oh my gosh. That's like has to be the worst thing that's done in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And see, that's like the really messed up part is not only not. I mean, obviously, this is terrible enough to do something horrible to such a young girl, but then he watches her kill herself.
And he's like, go.
Yeah,
like what?
you do you. Like, jeez.
One thing I also thought was interesting is, and one thing I couldn't quite understand the logic of, and I think we need to rewatch me to really thoroughly understand, is when Visconti decides to cut, because he will do like pretty long tracking shots or just long, longer cuts in general, but then it's not like he's doing these long cuts necessarily like to I'm not gonna say not to make a point, but he's not doing them in traditional places, right? So it's not like to introduce a scene or like to really like get a POV from a character or to like really get an emotion out. It's like they can be like these pretty dull like talking scenes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they do one at the dinner, where it's kind of like showing people's faces, and it's not like shaky ever. Like he definitely wants to keep it clean, but at the same time, like it's just weird where he decides to cut and where he decides not to. I thought that was very interesting with the film. Once again, something that I think is going to take a bit, at least one more rewatch for me to thoroughly comprehend.
It's funny. I don't remember what caused me to write this, but I wrote down positions. I don't remember a single
I mean,
example.
it feels like a documentary almost, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Where it's like you're kind of giving characters, and yes, they aren't like talking directly to the camera, but you have so many like one-on-one conversations with characters, right? Which you can say maybe it's possibly like a like you were saying, just like to show character interaction and connection, but also you could argue it's to almost make it feel like a documentary while it's not, right? They're not talking to the camera, but when one character's only talking to one other character, what is that? But like, I mean, the other character is essentially the camera. That's tradition.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And that also like the face thing, right? When you have it cut on someone's face, that's so symptomatic of like the documentary shot, or what do they call it? Like the confessional, I guess.
I thought this movie definitely had very well developed characters.
Yeah.
That's because it spends 3 hours on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like 2 and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's better than I thought. I thought it was going to go into a 4-hour movie because of the YouTube cut, but.
And you could also like have a very long movie that does not develop their characters well.
Throw some shade, like what? Like what?
Godfather Part 3.
Oh, okay. Okay. Derek, you gonna take that?
I mean, it's all right. I'll let it slide this time.
Yeah.
That's all I got for Damned.
That's all you got for Damned?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look through my notes. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. Derek, do you have anything more for the Damned?
No. I thought that the scene where it cuts from like the orgy or whatever to the massacre of the just like sheer massacre was just like so brutal and like powerful.
Yeah.
And it's like, kind of weird. Like, you definitely aren't supposed to, like, it doesn't feel good to feel this, but I think the movie deliberately tries to make you feel like, oh man, those poor guys, they were just having a good time partying. And they're like, wait a minute, well, they were still not. So,
Yeah.
but it's still like they portray the scene with like such brutality that you do like in a very like basic human way, like, dang, like
yeah. One of the things
It's messed up.
I think is interesting is one of the themes I kind of want to talk about real quick is like back on gender themes. One other interpretation I kind of wrote into my notes I'm seeing is it ends with Martin saluting, right, and then cuts to mom dying, right. So like I almost think that in Nazism, the feminine, the mother, is almost replaced by Mother Germany, right?
Oh.
Yeah, you like that
Yeah.
interpretation? So like that is who gives you birth, and that is what makes you, right? And Mother Germany's never gonna love another man more.
True. Although, as a
Oh.
possible point of contention, don't they call it the fatherland? And they would call it the motherland if they were portraying it in a feminine way.
Do they call it fatherland in the movie though?
Not in the movie, but I just think like in general.
Yeah, but I mean.
Oh, in the context of this movie. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying in a more broad historical sense.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, well let's move on to what is probably the most critically acclaimed of any of the movies that we will discuss in this first round. Is that fair to say? We got the most popular because we had like Indiana Jones and stuff, but I think the most critically acclaimed and Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious, which apparently was and I actually came across this by circumstance, not by actually looking for stuff about Notorious. Was considered for a while to be Hitchcock's best movie, like for a long while. And it's actually a pretty recent thing that both Psycho and Vertigo, and I guess Golden Relationship Pictures, also like Rear Window and North by Northwest have overtaken it. Although I think some of those movies can still be disputed against Notorious, for which is better. But yeah, so we have Notorious, which is for a long time considered Hitchcock's best movie. Stars Cary Grant in our second Ingrid Bergman film.
Yeah.
Or Ingrid Bergman's film, Dad was, guess what? A Nazi, or at least a German spy in America during World War II. And he's convicted in jail, and the government kind of comes to her to go to Brazil, Rio, to basically spy on some more Nazis, one of whom, his name is Alexander Sebastian, who is like an old, I guess, he's not a lover of hers because she never like liked him, but I guess a suitor, yeah, of hers. And she's up spying on him, but she also kind of has this romantic thing with Cary Grant, who is basically her contact, yeah, for on the American side of things. But then she has to marry Alexander to get him to be more of a spy, because Alexander doesn't trust Cary Grant, because low-key they make it kind of obvious a lot of the time. I feel like they could have been a bit more patient, but we can get on that later. But then Alexander, after she does some good spy work, to be fair, Ingrid Bergman does as Alicia, one of the two. He ends up finding out that she is an American informant, but he can't like expose her and kill her because then that would, at least not obviously, because then the other Nazis would find out that he married an American informant and they would kill him. So what he has to do instead is he has to poison her slowly, and then she gets kind of rescued at the end by Cary Grant. Great happy moment. A much happier ending than this is a much happier movie overall than The Damned, which was not really happy for a single bit of it.
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Did you like Notorious?
I liked it quite a bit.
I thought he would.
Really?
It seems like a Derek movie.
It definitely is.
I thought I had a read on Derek, but I guess I don't. I didn't think he'd like this one very much.
Oh, well, it is in Japanese, so that's the one
true,
thing.
yeah.
That always throws it off. You're never quite sure. If this was like Notorious versus like Street of Shame, then we'd have like a whole different conversation. But luckily it's not.
Yeah.
So why'd you like Notorious so much?
I mean, I like Street of Shame because I think I talked about that enough, but Notorious I liked a lot because I don't know, it did something where it focused on like two characters really, and three characters, but like the third one was kind of like I don't give a fuck about this guy because he's kind of one-dimensional, but
and a
Nazi. So it's like two characters and just like focuses on them like hyper focuses, which I think was cool. And I kind of cheated. I got recommended a video on Notorious, and it was just a YouTube video, and what he talks about is like the subtleties in the acting, in that what is not said is like what's important. So like I wrote down like the scene where he's like Cary Grant's like telling Ingrid Bergman like I needed to be a spy and basically go bang this dude real quick to find some information. What he's saying isn't saying is that he doesn't want her to do that. And what she's saying isn't saying is that she wants him to say that.
Yeah.
So those little moments like that are what makes this movie.
Yeah, like you're talking about towards the beginning, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
in
general, how much Hitchcock theoretically leaves up for interpretation, but like really you can interpret it all perfectly.
Yeah.
Right. Like also another example of that would be the whole I'm so hungover scene, right? Where at this point Alicia's pretty sick, and Devlin, that's his name, right? What a weird name.
I know someone named Devlin.
It's a weird name still. Devlin, which was Cary Grant's character. So Alicia's trying to she's dying of poison. She doesn't know that she's dying, but she just knows that she's sick. And she wants Devlin to think that she's going out a lot and like partying and stuff and having a grand old time. And Devlin like is concerned about her, but that's a whole nother subtext, right? But she never outwardly say like, I hope you know I'm going so crazy. She's just like, I'm hungover. And he's like obviously quite jealous, but like he also needs to like know what's happening with her. It's a whole thing. But yeah, it's a lot of that. It's a good point, Derek. That you stole from somebody else.
No.
That was rude.
I didn't steal it from him. I already noticed that.
He cited his source.
Yeah, he did cite his source.
We'll have to put it in the
He
link in the comments.
that example was my own. Okay, I want you to know that. He used a different example, just so you know.
Okay, well, there you go.
Click the annotation right here. See a link.
Right below my nose, my left nostril.
But there's like a lot of cool shots in this film, which I'm a big fan of.
A lot of cool shots.
So like one of them that really stuck out to me is when like Ingrid's like legit hungover, and like the camera's like rotating and moving around like as if from her perspective. So like she's on the bed, so the camera's from her perspective, like upside down kind of, and it's like moving around like she's like drunk as hell.
And it's great because it's not the typical like we're just gonna make the camera kind of shaky and things kind of woozy, right? Effect. It's not like a editing effect. It's more of a shot effect, which I always prefer personally.
That was really cool.
I think there's a lot of that, right? Where Hitchcock, at least in this movie, he really doesn't have a lot of editing tricks. You know, I think it's fair to say. Especially with the music. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like almost all of the music is diegetic, right? And a lot of times it's like this like really creepy, like not creepy, like almost like elevator music makes it even because it just like adds so much tension to some of these scenes. But yeah, I think for a movie like this where you're kind of playing, where you're really invested in the outcome, right, of two characters, I think it's really important not to have a lot of editing tricks and not to remind you that it's a movie and everything's probably gonna be okay in the end, right? Because I'm actually gonna throw this question out there. What did you guys think was gonna happen? Like just from like a purely like emotional you as you're watching the movie. What did you think was gonna happen to Alicia?
I guess I sort of like if I had to say one or the other, I would say that she makes it out okay. However, like I don't think I necessarily like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like if I was forced to pick, that's what I would pick. But I felt a lot of tension, especially like in that like one of the final scenes when they're kind of like walking down the stairs slowly, and then Alexander is like he doesn't want them to leave, but he can't make a big show of it, and like there's this kind of like weird like tense situation there. Like I felt a lot of like I don't know which way this is gonna go. Is this guy gonna go nuts and pull out a gun and shoot somebody? Like it did a pretty good job of setting up the tension.
Yeah, that scene was so good.
And it's even better because all the characters are behaving like perfectly logically.
Yeah, that's
right.
Hard to do.
Where like usually when you have these kind of like I don't even want to call this a Deus Ex Machina because it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have like these kind of savior scenes at the end where like the main character's in a perilous situation and she escapes, it's usually because like something kind of wacky happens, right? There's a series of events that like okay, I guess. But this, it's like everyone just behaves logically and everything works out okay.
It's really hard to write conflict where people behave logically the whole time.
Yeah. And I think this movie did a great job with that, or at least according to each character's own logic.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Maybe not necessarily like 100% logic, but really like Devil and Only should just like really talked it out a bit more.
Yeah, but I think like there's definitely some leeway that you give to people behaving illogically within bounds. Like you could definitely see how the emotions would get caught up and stuff.
Yeah.
So it feels realistic in that way.
What also was cool about that scene, going back to it, is that like you mentioned like the tension of it, but in a lesser director's hands, that scene would have zero tension.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's just this dude walking down the stairs. What's so tense about that? It's like, no, we understand that this dude Alexander is like on the edge, and if she leaves, he's dead. We understand that what's going on, and like if Alicia doesn't leave, she's dead. And if Cary Grant doesn't get out in like 2 seconds, he's gonna get the Nazis gonna shoot him up.
Yeah.
And also just like the little things, like the set designer, right? That scene doesn't work if the stairs aren't kind of positioned in that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're both very long. Cause they have to be very long, or else that tension's not building up as much. And B, they kind of curve down, right? So we get multiple points. We kind of get our tension almost kind of graphed out for us, right? Where we have up here, and then it's gonna move sideways and move down, which like really helps us as viewers kind of see what's going on. Just little things like that are really good.
And he sets it up like multiple times the logic of that staircase beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when she first comes to the house, they go up it together. When the second time, she just goes up it by herself, and we kind of get a downward angle on it. And then like at the party, she's like the famous zoom shot from the balcony of the stairs down to the key in her hand.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other tense scene. The scene at the party where the two are trying to
Oh yeah, that was great. It was like we understood that the champagne being refilled was like super pivotal because otherwise they couldn't like sneak in and check out the cellar or whatever. So that's another scene where like in a lesser director's hands, that scene would have zero tension, but he keeps focusing.
Oh, they're really banking on a lot there, huh? Like he would never go down to the wine cellar at any point.
Yeah.
During that party. But
Yeah.
the thing is that we're not talking about. We're talking about how emotionally invested we are in the drama in this whole movie. But there's also like a lot of like funny parts, like not like laugh out loud hysterical, but like parts that like made me smirk or giggle or whatever. Like I love drunk Alicia, especially drunk Alicia at the beginning of the movie, where she's like drunk driving. That scene killed me. With like, it's so foggy outside, and he's like, "That's your hair." Just, like dying.
Yeah. Oh my god, that shot was so great because we got the perspective of her having the hair in her eyes. I love that.
Yeah, and it's me and Derek were talking with somebody else yesterday about why we don't necessarily like humor in Marvel movies. And it's because it's like these very one-linery and like not necessarily like emblematic of like the characters' personalities or whatever. Like an Iron Man joke, or maybe that's a bad example, but like a Thor joke isn't gonna like a Thor one-liner isn't necessarily playing off of like who Thor is as a character. It's playing off of just like situation and him being a witty commentator, which doesn't really make sense. Not important. But with this, like the humor is so good because like
it's revealing.
Yeah, and it's because we also know the characters well, right? We can understand these characters, and it makes us laugh because like they're just being them.
Yeah.
I remember like when I acted at a young age, I was told that like if you want to get a laugh, like don't ever overplay it. Just be the character, and that's the best way you can get any laugh. And that's how I think Ingrid Bergman really understood in this movie.
I think to me, one kind of complaint that I have with the movie, and I know just not necessarily complaint, but just something that I kind of want to toss up, is like that I feel this dynamic, like between male and female leads, like we see a lot in movies from this era of like a sort of like they hate each other and they argue all the time, but secretly there's this passion. I feel like we see that a lot, and it's always kind of like this very like unhealthy, not quite abusive, but definitely like not kind relationship. I don't know. I kind of like, to me, it's not always fun to watch because it's A, not very like wholesome, and B, like I feel like we've seen it a lot. And maybe it wasn't cliche then, and maybe it's only cliche because other people copied it. But just as a viewer, I feel like this is like a sort of similar relationship to the one we saw in what's the other one? Only Angels Have Wings or whatever. Like
it's not that similar. I guess
they fit within the same umbrella, certainly.
But like Only Angels Have Wings is like more on the abusive scale, right? And like she is like a lot more out of the loop of the movie than Alicia is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're the same relationship, but I think that it's definitely an archetype that crops up a lot in movies of this type, where it's a relationship, but they don't really like each other, except they kind of do.
Except for in this movie, it's pretty much different because what's happening is that there's like a subtext there where really they both really do like each other. It's just that they're so their situation's so wacky that they can't admit to it.
It's not like a love-hate, right? It's a love-like relationship. Like they never really hate each other like they do in Only Angels Have Wings. It's never like the arguments and stats.
No,
like,
they definitely do.
They do things to get on each other's nerves, but so does like literally every relationship.
No, but he definitely like straight up says really mean things about her. I always knew you'd be like this, alcoholic sleeping around slut. Not slut, but essentially slut. And definitely like puts her down a lot. And then like when she, has that moment where like she says that she's hungover, but really she's sick, and he says something along the lines of like, "Yeah, I should have known you'd go back to your old hoary ways."
Did you say hoary? Or did you say like
no,
drinky?
That's
like,
I'm embellishing this slightly because
saying hoary. It's like,
but that's essentially the subtext of what he's saying.
But she's also like very intentionally trying to get on his nerves, right? Like I don't think they ever just like each other. They still have like a healthy working relationship, right? It's not like
they have a working relationship. Certainly, I don't know.
They don't front to each other. They dislike each other. I don't ever think. Or at least it's if they do, it's like buried upon layers. I mean, like Only Angels Have Wings, which was a good movie for the record.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily nearly as layered their relationship. Like I think it's okay to take like a trope and make it complex because like every movie does that at this point. There is no movie. Give me a movie that doesn't take a trope and make it give it layers.
Anyhow, that was just my read on the relationship.
But also, I think it's like once again, both of their actions are following logic, right? Like
certainly, yeah.
That's why I don't think it's necessarily bad. Like I think tropey is only bad if it's like undeserved, or like doesn't necessarily fit in, but they're trying to keep with conventions, so they're throwing it in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not well done, just that it's something that I feel like I've seen a lot, and it's like definitely like.
But like once again, how can you have a romance and not have something that you've seen a lot?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of movies have romance, and I don't always get the same feeling as I do when I'm watching a 50s.
I'm just curious, like what movie do you think like isn't like?
I mean, like I'm not even saying
any movie. That's all I'm asking.
Just name a movie off the top of my head that has a romance.
That isn't, yeah, like.
Let's think of one that we've watched. Okay, boom, The Damned. That has an unconventional romance.
Except for that, not romance.
Which romance? The mother-son or the...
Either.
No, because I think the other one is very conventional, right? Like, the two people are trying to use each other to get ahead.
But to me, it doesn't...
And they both know it.
It doesn't reek of the same, like type that this does, where you have this, very dark, handsome, very man of few words character, and then this woman who's kind of bucking his authority, and then, I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I feel like in a lot of movies from the 50s, you get this very same dynamic.
The 40s.
Yeah, okay, same thing. Same decade, literally.
Okay, enough of arguing. Derek, something good about the movie.
I pretty much.
That's a good thing, Derek. Oh my gosh.
I pretty much said most of mine.
That's all. I think this movie has a lot going for it.
I said a lot.
love triangle sort of thing that was going on with like the appendage of the mother. Like I thought the mother was a really cool addition.
Yeah, she's
to this
a really
movie
good character.
because she sort of like she basically gives the depth to Alexander that we're not getting from the same amount of screen time that we get with other two main characters. Because we see that she sort of has this like kind of similar to the dam. The mother has a very like domineering position over the son. And I don't know, it definitely was a cool addition because I don't think narratively it was really necessary, but it just adds that little three-dimensionality to the relationship. Because she has a sort of like untrusting relationship towards Alicia. I don't know, it was cool. It was a good addition.
Yeah, and also once again, kind of, it places Sebastian for us as someone who is like kind of helpless, right?
Yeah.
He's a Nazi, he's a terrible person, right? But he's also like in a weird spot where Sebastian is like almost forced to watch his wife, flirt with this other man, and he kind of has to accept it for a long time, right? And what the mother adds to that is like it just amplifies just like how much of an idiot he really is, and like
yeah, and definitely plays into that idea that we talked about in Damned of like Nazis as being men with shattered masculinities who turn to this like extreme ideology to try and like reinforce it somehow.
And I think it's cool talking about playing off of a convention. I want you guys to imagine an alternate universe. This is movies from Sebastian's view, which Derek would say is a much worse movie, I'm sure. But Alicia comes off as like a pretty typical femme fatale.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like she drinks a lot. She's kind of mysterious. She seduces him, and then she ends up betraying him. She ends up being the bad, or his bad guy, right? Like our good guy, because we're watching from the view. But and it's kind of interesting how it's like the other side of the femme fatale. So if you want to argue that, like, I think in that way it's almost breaks convention too. I feel like at first they had like this very like Americana kind of vibe to it, but that like really went away.
Yeah, I think that might have been a symptom of the time because like it's 1946, like we literally
Everyone's
just won the war.
yeah.
So everyone, yeah, but there was definitely like an interesting little flirtation with the idea of patriotism in the very beginning, which I was afraid would run through the whole thing and kind of make it a little bit schlocky, but they kind of, it was just enough. It was a good amount.
Also, can I say that wasn't it? Wow, I was gonna say something, and now I can't remember. Oh yeah. There's one scene where she, I believe, is like, I think he needs a key from his mom or something. Sebastian needs a key from his mom to like all the rooms so he can show her around or whatever. And she's like watching, and it's like him and his mom arguing in the other room. You know do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like the door's closed. Sebastian and his mom are arguing, and she's like looking on. It reeked of Psycho, and I was like, Alfred Hitchcock's gonna do this same thing later, but it's gonna be funny because there's actually no mom.
Is that a thing with Psycho? I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, I've seen Psycho.
Spoiled.
Derek, have you seen Psycho?
Or Psycho, yeah.
Spoiling Psycho to all of our viewers.
Oh god, that's probably gonna come up later if you end up watching if this movie wins. Actually, as a it's a very spicy. This is my first Alfred Hitchcock movie I've ever seen in my life.
Whoa.
Yep.
Derek.
That's bold, Caleb.
Have you seen another one before?
Yeah.
So I'm the only one. Let's see. I definitely remember that there was a lot of cool close-up shots in Notorious. Like one in particular, I remember it was almost like a top-down close-up, like the camera was coming in from above the face, which I thought was really interesting. I don't remember exactly the scene context, but I remember I really liked it.
So, are we good talking about Notorious? Anyone have any other thoughts on either of the movies before we go on to our little awards and everything?
Honestly, the acting was really good. Even
we didn't talk about that actually. Amazing, right?
Yeah, the acting was like incredible on like pretty much every character's part.
Are you talking about both movies?
No, on Notorious. The acting in The Dam was probably the thing I liked the least.
Really? I thought it was pretty good.
I think who's acting do you not like in The Damned?
Martin's and
What?
Gunther's.
You don't like Martin's acting?
Gunther made
His
Martin was, like, he was a
inflection.
powerhouse in that movie, dude.
Gunther was like his inflection was just so annoying. It was like, I don't want you to bang my mother.
But like, aren't the I don't know. I thought they were both like I wouldn't say Martin's acting was like especially strong or Gunther's acting was especially strong, but like Martin's was really good, and in
Yeah.
general I thought the acting was strong like throughout the movie. Like no one's was particularly weak.
I think Martin's was really good. Yeah, I mean, especially because how much close-ups he gets, like he does pretty well.
And he has to play such an extreme character too.
Yeah, he
That's
literally
probably
plays
worth
like a child rapist who has like this really unhealthy relationship. Like it's like a lot happening. Unhealthy relationship with his mom.
And he still manages to like portray it like as at least a human, an evil one certainly, but at least as a human.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so are you guys ready to move on to our awards?
I am.
Favorite quote?
Notorious. The line that Ingrid says when she's like trying to get Devlin to like leave her alone pretty much at the beginning is like, I don't like patriots waving the flag with one hand and picking pockets with the other. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think that was a really good quote. I actually have mine's definitely from The Damned. I actually have like, too many to choose from. I think it's mine. I guess I'll go with. Oh man, I have two. I'll just do both. Okay, I think my favorite is this potential of energy and fury is too important to use in a paltry private vendetta, and that was an Aschenbach quote. So shouts to my boy Aschenbach, favorite Nazi. Also, though, I really like the collective thinking of our people is now complicity. Don't you think that this is the true miracle of the Third Reich? I don't think so.
Yeah. I really liked. I'm gonna also use Aschenbach in general. I didn't write anything down in particular, but I thought everything that came out of Aschenbach's mouth was pretty cool because it has that
nice quotes.
Yeah, interesting blend of like very like intellectual, philosophical thing, but also the Nazism. And as a quick thing, I remember I had a note on in The Damned, the characters' accents place them on the moral spectrum. So the more Germanic they sound, typically the more of an evil character they are. And if they have British, like I think like Herbert had like a pretty much British accent, and he's kind of like our paragon. And as you sort of like slide towards more German, it gets more and more evil. Like I think the most German sounding ones are Aschenbach, Sophie, and Martin.
Did you pick that up yourself?
Yes.
Not from whatever YouTube channel Derek was on?
No, this is all from my own knowledge.
Wow.
I don't know if you could probably go through and find exceptions, but that's certainly what I noticed.
That's cool. That's really neat, actually.
I think y'all are taking that thing I said out of context, though. I want to rephrase that. Like, he was only talking about the subtleties in like what was unsaid. Like most of what I said was what I thought. Just so you know.
I know, Derek.
You're good.
Derek, I think you need to read what's unsaid here. I'm totally messing with you. I know you basically comprised that point yourself. Now, Derek, I do have to ask you, what was your favorite scene in the movie? I think we actually might have a similar one here, but I'm curious.
That's hard. That's actually really hard. Either the driving scene or the scene where they're at the party and they keep fumbling around, going back into the champagne, like Devlin and Ingrid Bergman. I forget her character's name. Keep going back to the champagne guy, Joseph, and they're like, "We got enough champagne? Okay, good." That was really. I like that moment.
Yeah, it's great. And once they get to the cellar and you have this iconography of like the year 1934, right? Because that's the one year that matches everything else.
Yeah.
And his what's his face is looking back through it.
Sebastian. Alexander. Sebastian.
Alexander is looking back through it and it's like, Joe, 1934, 1934, and then I don't know what the bad year ends up being, but not 1934. It's like, but yeah, I think my favorite scene is definitely the ending scene of the Notorious, right?
Yeah.
It's so great. Just everything about
that's
it.
definitely
Also,
up there.
It's a really good ending scene, but Notorious' ending scene is just so tension filled and so perfectly done.
Yeah.
That's yours.
I really like the scene from The Damned where the SA are like it may be a little long to be called a scene, but just in general, that part of the movie where they're having their party and it kind of starts off as fun, well, it's kind of twisted because they're Nazis, but they're going swimming and then they're
It's
getting
lads.
drunk. Yeah, it's literally just lads, dude. But then like there's also these like weird like homosexual undertones because like they're all swimming like completely butt naked, and then later towards like when they get really drunk, they also like dressing up as women, and it's sort of like a very like absurd, like surreal scene. And then it kind of completely subverts your expectations of like who Nazis are. And then there's this great scene where we have like this. It's like it kind of like pans, and it starts off with like what we would typically associate with Nazism, which is like this super masculine, very well defined muscle dude, and then it kind of pans, and he's wearing like panties and stocking, and it's like just a complete subversion. And then it tops off this whole scene with like this great or huge scene of like violence and all these people just getting shot and blood everywhere, and then it kind of pans over the rest of the house and kind of shows all their like corpses, and it's like, man, that really takes you through a roller coaster.
Yeah, it really does. All the cuts too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it's great. Okay, so next we're gonna do. Okay, so I kind of want to treat this carefully because, so we have best performance and favorite character. I'm gonna do favorite character first, and then we're gonna talk about best performance later. I think that's gonna be actually possibly more interesting than which movie is better, is which performance is the best.
Yeah.
So Derek, who's your favorite character?
Ooh. Probably Ingrid Bergman's character.
Yeah, she's so fun.
Yeah.
She's
And
my kind of girl. Good time girl.
and she's so, I don't know. There's so many levels to her. I really like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not anybody from. Aschenbach is pretty cool, but probably not anyone from the Dam. So I would also go Alicia as well. Caleb, favorite character?
Aschenbach.
Aschenbach.
He's
Yeah.
just really cool. He's definitely the villain that I like, where he's the
Yeah.
philosophical villain, which I guess is like a trope to some extent. But I really like that when the villain seems like he's so much more educated on morality than everyone else.
But it's cool because when he's a philosophical villain, he's not a giant talker, right? Like most of those villains, they're trying to do things, but Aschenbach,
he doesn't monologue.
he's very
too much.
efficient,
Yeah.
and like what he does.
Yeah, he sort of like very well personifies the idea of this like corrupting Nazi element in Germany that's just slowly taking control and growing in power the whole time.
Okay, so now best performance. Now, don't say it yet, but is it fair to say that you guys think it's either Cary Grant or Ingrid Bergman?
Yeah.
I would not have chosen one of those two.
Really? Okay, well, Caleb's a weirdo. Caleb, who would you have chosen?
Martin.
I think Martin was the best performance.
Yeah,
that's
really
crazy
good.
to me.
Yeah, I definitely disagree.
Yeah, I think it's definitely has to be one of those two. Okay, so Caleb thinks it's Martin, but let's go to Notorious because maybe we can argue Martin versus whoever later. But who acts it better, Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, or should they're mostly evenly matched? And it's okay to say they're mostly evenly matched. But
I would say Alicia is a better actress.
Derek?
Yeah, Ingrid Bergman was really good.
Okay, here's the real hard question for you, Derek. Ingrid Bergman and Notorious, or Ingrid Bergman and Stromboli?
I mean, she was really good in Stromboli. That wasn't my problem with Stromboli, but
yeah, no, she is really good in that movie.
Yeah, that was like the strong point of that movie, that she was so fucking powerful in it.
It's just that Roberto Rossellini decides to cut to her any given moment.
Yeah,
he can.
Literally any moment.
I'd actually say her performance in Stromboli is maybe stronger than her performance in.
I think it's actually an argument. I don't think it's just because of how much.
She gets to express a lot.
Yeah.
What's the big? What's the movie Leo wanted an Oscar for?
Revenant.
The Revenant, yeah. Stromboli definitely the Revenant of Ingrid Bergman films.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna have a lot of Ingrid Bergman. I actually think this might be the more nuanced. I would probably go Notorious over Stromboli in terms of her performance, but they're both really good. Dirk?
What's the question? I got caught up in moving around.
So you Stromboli, Ingrid Bergman, or Notorious Ingrid Bergman?
Oh, okay. I don't know. She has to do, I think, a little bit more subtext and like delicate acting in Notorious, so I'm gonna go with that, but definitely close.
Agree. Yeah, I agree that there's like a lot more subtlety in this, but I think in terms of range, we see a lot more in Stromboli.
It's so cool that we get we have like a repeat actress now.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't Cary Grant. Didn't we have a Cary Grant movie too? He was in
Oh, was he in
Yeah.
the one with the
Angels.
Yeah.
hole. Ace in the Hole.
Ace in the Hole, yeah.
Or no,
remember that.
Cary Grant was in Only Angels Have Wings.
Wait, who was Ace in the Hole, man?
That was
it the same guy?
no,
No, it's
it's
not.
what's his name? I only remember the director. I don't remember that guy.
Oh yeah. So in Ace in the Hole, it was Kirk Douglas. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're all basically the same guy.
No, Cary Grant.
That's my point. with these
Cary
movies.
Grant is very distinct. I don't know about that. Kirk Douglas, maybe not. I think Kirk Douglas is also very distinct, but Cary Grant is like very like
The Kirk
posh.
now the Kirk was definitely a different person.
No, they're all 50s straight man.
The Kirk Douglas is
Hey,
Spartacus.
baby.
That's one movie. They're different actors. Okay, Caleb. Cary Grant's a great actor though. Which Cary Grant performance do you think is better, Derek? Definitely this one, right?
Yeah, definitely. In fucking Only Angels Have Wings, he literally plays one tone.
Yeah. That movie was like very average looking back. I remember very little about that movie. But yeah. So we're going. Caleb, you really think Martin was the better job? I want to hear justification. What made Martin so great?
Because he's playing such a challenging character to play, and he pulls it off. Like, he
Caleb,
has to act out a lot of, like, I guess it's a range thing. Maybe you guys just are more preferential towards, like, subtlety, maybe, whereas I'm more preferential towards range, or just, like, being able to pull off something difficult.
Mhm.
It could be, like, a subjective difference.
So now, my next question here is, I asked you favorite character, performance, quote, and scene, and they were all from The Damned. Which movie did you like better?
Man, I think I may have liked The Damned a little bit better.
There you
That
go.
said, I really did like Notorious. I thought they were both good movies. I just
think
think
they're both very good
Notorious, I don't think it's my style necessarily, but I recognize that it's a good movie.
Definitely not a one-star movie, The Damned. That said, I'm definitely going Notorious in this one. I like them
Really?
both a lot, though. A lot. But I'm going to side with Notorious at the end. Derek, I'm guessing is also going Notorious?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. The Damned was good, but it wasn't it was kind of just like distinct in like a way I didn't really appreciate. Like I'm not really into. It was very character driven, but in like the least interesting way for me.
I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked The Damned.
Yeah, I didn't.
I like The Damned a lot more.
I didn't dislike it,
There's-
but I just didn't like it all that much. As much as I liked Notorious.
He doesn't shit on the movie until after we vote.
There we go. Well, to be fair, that makes it a much more interesting podcast.
Yeah,
No, that
that's
makes
also
a less genuous one. I think.
true.
We're talking about our opinions. We should talk about our opinions when it actually matters, which is as we're
Yeah, I
talking
agree.
about it.
I think it's important for us to present all sides of both movies. Unfortunately, we couldn't elaborate as much as actually I would have wanted to. One, because it's been a while since we saw the movies, so I think it's a bit harder for us to elaborate
Sure.
on points. And B, like Derek said, he has his first day of class today. So for next time, I think we only have 2 options left. Is that right?
Wow. Guys, we're almost done with the first round. It's been like actually a long time.
Yeah, it has. It's been 30 weeks. Or no, that's not true. 14 weeks.
Damn.
So we have Godard versus David Lynch, and we have Buñuel versus Antonini.
And you want to save Godard Lynch for last, right?
Yeah.
That's
so,
gonna be a banger round, dude. I
Uh-huh.
can't wait.
So we're gonna go Louis Buñuel's The Exterminating Angel versus Michelangelo Antonini's La Notte.
Excellent.
Until next time, on behalf of I'd like to thank you all for listening on behalf of myself and my co-host Caleb Ferguson and Derek Shalinsky. And remember, have a great day, night, whatever time it is for you. And remember to watch more movies.